So in Kamloops, we use a tool called the Early Development Instrument. It was developed in Ontario, but in BC, the University of British Columbia and a group of researchers called the Human Early Learning Partnership are the ones that sort of steward this information and organize it for us. So we talk a lot about mapping, we talk about children in neighborhoods, we talk about vulnerability rates. And we've been using this tool for over 10 years now. It's a tool used by a kindergarten teacher in February of the school year, and it assesses 5 different domains of development. The 5 domains that are used for the EDI are physical health and well-being, social competence, emotional maturity, language and cognitive development, and communication skills. It's a holistic measure. So I'll give you a couple examples. The physical health and well-being scale incorporates questions about motor development, but it also takes into account whether a child arrives at school hungry or doesn't have appropriate clothing for the weather. The emotional maturity measures things like whether a child has the ability to be empathetic to others. The social competence scale measures things like self-confidence. And the communication skills measures things like whether a child can communicate their needs, whether they can understand others in English. So all these things together paint a picture of what a child is like at kindergarten, and we measure these things and we talk about whether a child is ready to learn. It doesn't mean they know their ABCs or their 1, 2, 3s and can write them perfectly. It means they have the foundation they need to learn those things. It also means that we can measure our neighborhoods in our city and talk about something called vulnerability. If a child is vulnerable on one or more of those scales of development, it means they could struggle. Doesn't mean they will, but it means they could. The more scales they're vulnerable on, the bigger the struggles could be. So the reason we talk about things like that is we know in our community, unfortunately, physical health and well-being has one of the highest levels of vulnerability. So does social competence and emotional maturity. So we know that the mental health of children is suffering, some. We know also that children are not as healthy as they need to be. That means some are hungry. That means some are probably not physically active enough. It gives us a really good foundation as a community development initiative to think, what do we need to implement in our community to better support children and families? One of the things Make Children First will be working on is enhancing in a coordinated way the ability for children to be more physically healthy. That's focusing on family nutrition. That's focusing on getting active as a family. Parents need to model these things for their children. They need to be involved in these things for their children. And it does not have to be paid, scheduled activity. It can be running in a park. It can be walking down the street. It can be hiking on the many trails around our city. You can be walking to the grocery store if you live close. It can be incorporating these things into your routine that allow your child to establish those routines early in life, to build their bodies in a strong way. It also means that we need to look at why children are stressed and anxious and not feeling like being kind to others. We need to look at what's going on in our community, why children are struggling with that. We know some of that has to do with how stressed and anxious parents are. We know the family unit is stressed. We don't have the answers, but we know that we need to work collectively to help address that. So the EDI is one of those tools that for Make Children First and the school board in particular, that we use when we get together and we plan our goals. When we get together with our partners and we say, this year we need to really focus on getting families active. What can we do all together to make this happen? What can we do as a community to make sure more children are not arriving at school hungry? We cannot do this alone. No family can overcome some of these challenges on their own. They need support. And slowly but surely some of these changes are happening, but the data is really showing us that we need to be more focused on it.